Welcome, everyone. Today we're talking about the new moon in Cancer that is coming up very, very soon. If you're new to the channel, please hit that like button and that subscribe to be notified whenever we go live. We go live every week on Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Eastern Time and 1 p.m. Pacific Time. So be on the loop because every week we have a different theme and we try to keep the theme very specific to what's going on in the sky. So if you're ever curious about a transit or about anything at all, astrology or your chart, you can send us a question. All right. So today I have Jamie Magee with me, one of my favorites, and Taylor Shuler, who's also one of my favorites. Everyone is. I guess that makes it less important, but we don't talk about that. Everyone's just great. The theme of today, like I was saying, is the new moon in Cancer. So if you have a question about where the moon is falling in your chart, if it's hitting a planet or anything, please send it to us in the comments. Usually we have a featured question that we prepare beforehand, but today we'll only be taking live questions. A couple of people complained last time that we spent too much time on the featured question and we didn't get too many questions in the comments. So today is your lucky day. Just send the questions along with your birth information and we'll get right to it. All right, so before we start taking questions, I would like to ask you, Jamie and Taylor, what are you looking forward to with this Cancer new moon? Is there like a theme or some like a general vibe that you're expecting out of it?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I've been thinking about it a lot, actually. So what I've been thinking about is how we had the full moon, right? We had the full moon in Capricorn, and now we're having the new moon in Cancer. And so Cancer and Capricorn are opposite to one another, which means they're a pair, right? But I think in just the way that we live our lives, like we read, at least in English on the page from left to right, we go forward. You expect the new moon in a sign to happen before the full moon. So I've been contemplating a lot, like what it means when this happens. Because I remember this happening, and it happens like frequently that we have the full moon before the new moon, but it changes every, and I'm not sure exactly how many months, but I think it's like every 20 months or 19 months or something like that. We start to see the shift where the full moon in a sign will happen before the new moon happens. And with Pluto at 29 degrees of Capricorn right now, and a lot of the outer planets over the next couple of months and years changing and moving from the later signs in the zodiac to the newer signs in the zodiac. It's like you have to put all this together, right? It's like nothing happens in a vacuum. So for me, I think what I'm most looking forward to with this, especially because Cancer and Capricorn are cardinal signs, is that what it's saying is that we have to release and let go of the past in order to begin something new again, right? So what is it that we released on this full moon in Capricorn that's allowing us and helping us to let go of the past in order to usher in the future? But also what that means is that with this new moon, we don't get a full moon in Capricorn until next year. So what we're beginning, you'd expect to like release that thing on the next full moon. Well, the next full moon is going to be the full moon in Leo, right? Or I'm sorry, the full moon in Aquarius. Mm-hmm. Sun's going to be in Leo, moon will be in Aquarius. So we don't really get that satisfying, like instant thing that we'd want to get with this part of our lives because we already did the releasing. We already did that. A couple days ago on, July the 3rd, when we had that full moon. So I think it's really about long-term plans. What are we letting go of from the past? What are we thinking about? What are we letting go of? What are the ways in which we need to be empowered? What are the ways in which change is coming and we're excited for change? And how is that, how are the seeds we're planting now going to support us like a year from now when we finally get that next full moon in Capricorn next year, especially because this full moon, the new moon is going to be pretty close to where we had the Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter conjunction on January 12th of 2020, just about 2 degrees away from that. And it's going to be opposing Pluto and it will just be separating from a sextile with Uranus. So that's where we get a lot of this like dynamic change coming in. And then the moon will go on to square the nodes. So it's like there's a lot of change going on personally and in the world. And I think we're all feeling it. And this is just supportive of that.
Yeah, totally. And that's actually so resonant because my this new moon is actually happening on the day of my birthday. It's not my solar return, but it's on the day of my birthday. And just as we had the full moon, I had my final decision to move out of the country because I'm Canadian and I'm deciding to move to the US. But then I won't be able to move until like a year from now because I'll have to sort like the whole immigration process and all of that. So that is like the perfect example.
Oh my goodness, this is amazing. And congratulations and happy birthday
Thank
and
you,
happy
thank
solar
you,
return.
thank you. And what about you, Jamie? What are you seeing for this new moon?
Oh, I loved everything that Taylor said. I'm in complete and absolute agreement. And like when she talks about like kind of zoning out, there's a lot going on around this new moon. We have the nodes moving, we have Venus shifting into retrograde. And it's almost like, okay, recently, just to kind of like take the astrology out of it, I've been experiencing this, and this is what it reminds me of the transit. It's like every time I solve a problem, especially like a long-term problem, there's usually one right behind it that I have to keep sort of resolving. So, for example, I had a pool and I had a tree next to it, and the tree was causing problems with the pool. So I cut down the tree. Once I cut down the tree, or I cut back the tree, I didn't cut it down. It's still alive. It's cut down beautifully. Now I can see neighbors. So I have a problem with seeing the neighbors. So I have to move the pool. In order to move the pool, I need more. You see, it's like it's a constant adjustment. And because where this new moon is, there's a sense of a new beginning. Like we're trying to burst something, but we're having to let go of other things in order for that to happen. And a lot of that is coming from Pluto moving back, and Pluto saying, okay, well, we have to wrap up this decade and a half story in order for you to grow forward. We have Venus kind of kicking up some energy, some 8-year stories when we get into longer patterns. There's just a lot of patterns ending and beginning with this. So the one thing that I think, like, and we think about Cancer too, the one thing about this new moon is really about what do you need to feel nurtured and safe and protected in your home? What can you do with that, or whatever your foundational Cancer is in your chart? Because we're going to have that different for everyone. But it's definitely, I don't know that it feels like Taylor was saying, it's not going to be like, okay, fresh, clean slate. There's a lot on your desk that you're cleaning off so you can get to that clean slate. And I really do think you may solve a problem and find one right behind it, but that's okay because you're just going to keep moving forward with whatever you're doing. That's the intention. And if you focus, I've been working with a lot of clients, at least recently. It's really easy to get caught in the weeds. And that's what that was. I needed to move this to this. And it was like that in every area of my life. Like every time I solve one problem, there's another one. That's the weeds. What I need to do is focus on the long term. What is the whole reason I'm doing this in the first place? Where are we going? And I think if you can set those intentions, and whether they're a month out, a year out, 5-10 years out, that'll be what you need to do to kind of protect your nest and grow with that energy.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much, guys. And if that sparked anything for you guys listening in right now, leave your questions in the comments. I see that a few of them already came through. A lot of people asking about what the degree of the new moon actually is. And I think I can grab that for you guys really quickly. It's going to happen at 24 degrees and 56 arc minutes of Cancer. So if you have anything at around 24 degrees of Cancer or cardinal signs, be on alert. Send your questions. Right. So with that, let's get to the questions. This one came from our early bird of the day, Nicole Dragon, who we see almost every week here. Thank you, Nicole, for tuning in. You're the best. So Nicole asks, this one is for Stanley. What is the Cancer new moon saying about family and work in my life? Where should my focus be? Cool. So, Jamie, Taylor, which one of you would like to get us started with this question? Let's go with...
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so I've got that Stanley has a 26 degrees and 11 minutes Taurus rising with Chiron right there on the ascendant, and I'm using Regiomontanus as my house system. So I see Cancer the sign of Cancer is in charge of the third house. And in whole sign, I think it's also, in whole sign, it's also the third house. So the moon in Stanley's chart is going to be in charge of topics related to communication, memory, early childhood, neighbors, your local neighborhood, and any siblings that you have. So in terms of the home and family, the other thing that this does when you have something in the third house is the 12th house from the fourth house. So the fourth house is in charge of our home and our family and real estate. And the 12th house is going to be things that we do that we're kind of unaware of. So there might be some things that come up in terms of whenever we're dealing with the moon, right? Whenever we're dealing with the moon in this chart, or the third house, it's going to be, what are some of the things that we do like unconsciously around the house that we don't, what we shouldn't maybe be doing, like the habits that we have, like that take us away from our home and our family, especially as they pertain to our siblings, or reading, or communicating, or talking with people, or our memories, or ruminating, or our own early childhood experiences that are then impacting how we see our home and our family, elementary school and things like that. Now, Stanley has the moon in Aries in the 12th house, so another 12th house signification. So Stanley is probably a person with moon in Aries. I often find it can maybe not be so true with the 12th house, because it's one of those places that can change us a little bit just because of the type of energy that we have in the 12th house. But usually a moon in Aries type person at lunchtime, when we were working in offices and things, the moon and Aries people in my office would always go for a run at lunchtime. They'd be like, I got to get out of here. I got to go for a run. So this may be a very active type of full moon. It's also going to be, I'm sorry, I keep saying full moon. It's a new moon. So this new moon in Cancer is going to be in that third house, and it's going to be making a pretty closely aspected square to Stanley's natal moon there in the 12th house. So again, bringing up these 12th house topics. What are the sort of like things that are coming to Stanley's attention now that he wants to resolve or work on or do differently that may require him taking action? That may mean like, hey, I want to put some energy and some effort into this thing. It might be about talking about your feelings, right? That's a very Cancer thing to do. Now, this new moon at 2456 Cancer is also pretty close to Stanley's part of fortune, which is the part of the chart. It's a calculation between the sun and the moon, but in Hellenistic astrology, the part of fortune was sort of this thing where things just happen, and we can't necessarily control what happens with the part of fortune. It's just like you roll the dice, and what happens, and all you can do is respond to it in the best and the highest vibration form possible, and know that it's just presented there for you to reflect upon, and for you to grow from and through and with and for. So I wonder if there are some siblings who are really far away. That could be another signification of having the ruler of the third house in the 12th. Like your siblings live in another country, or they live far away, if Stanley has any. I see feeling active, wanting to get everything done at home and leave work behind. Yeah. So I think that's just, that's spot on for this. Get stuff done, talk about your feelings, have some open conversations, and, maybe take a stroll down memory lane and think about the past and think about how you want things to be in the future, and start thinking about maybe like that thing you want to write, right? Third and ninth house axis is great for publishing and writing things. So, oh yes, siblings are really far, and my kids are far away too. Oh, I'm sorry that your kids are far away. That can be heartbreaking sometimes when they're far away, but hopefully they're living their best life, so you're happy for them. This full moon at 28, you have Mercury at 28 degrees of Capricorn. So there is definitely something about having conversations about our feelings. The last thing I'll say, because I know I've been talking a while, is that with the sun and the moon square the nodes in evolutionary astrology, what we talk about is, the need for us to have our own identity and cultivate our own identity. And also the need, that's when the sun is square the nodes. And when the moon is square the nodes, it's really about making sure that our emotions and our feelings are in balance and coming into greater balance. And if there is something where someone really needs to, like they're not happy, and this is for everyone in general, not just for Stanley, if someone's like not happy about how they've been feeling, or like how they feel because of behaviors in a relationship with someone else, it's a great time to reclaim our power, especially with Pluto in the mix with this new moon, so that we are telling people how we need to and want to be and deserve to be treated. And we have a greater sense of agency. And then that, with the moon, contributes to our own sense of identity and authenticity and integrity, and allows us to show up in the world with the energy and vitality that we need and that other people need from us as well.
Awesome. It sounds like it was also resonating. Nicole said, yes. Nicole said, yes, that is spot on thing about the past and what I vision for my future, I guess. Awesome. Thank you so much, Taylor. I think we're ready to move on to the next question. Do you have the chart ready, Jamie, or do you need some time?
Is this for Courtney or Jan?
That would be for Jan Birch. You need some time?
Just 1 second. I think I do. I was looking at Stanley's chart with Taylor, so I was like, so we had
it's all good.
22nd, 1952, 3:25 p.m. Yeah, I have this chart. Okay, and then the question is wondering about the new moon in my sign and Jupiter transiting conjunct my 7th house.
Let me see.
Is that right?
Yes. I think I pressed it twice. All right. So since before I put my question, and she says, I'm wondering about the new moon in my sign and Jupiter transiting it, conjunct itself in my 7th house. So I'm assuming it's a Jupiter return situation. Yeah, that was the question.
Yeah, Jan, I really love all of the beautiful energy that you have in your chart, especially because you've been under probably a lot of duress over the last couple of years. You've had a south node in your 1st house, and you've had a north node in your 7th house, Saturn in your 4th. Those are angular houses. So anything that happens on the angles feels very public, as if like the world is happening to us. And that's a lot of intensity. And then we've had Leo, that self-expression, who am I? How do I step out into the world? Like that's been under a little bit of pressure by these points too. But now, like you mentioned, you're having a Jupiter return. So Jupiter is coming into that 7th house. It's really going to highlight those one-to-one connections that you have, but it's in trine with your local environment, the 3rd house, and the 11th house, which is your dreams and your allies and people that you connect with. So all 3 of those areas are lit up by Jupiter. But my saying that I say all the time is Jupiter is luck of expansion, opportunity, but we have to let him know what that is in order to attract it into our life. So I would really sit with what are you bringing in right now? And if you feel like you would want something different, you can kind of adjust your intentions with this new moon that we have. Like what are you wanting to bring into your life? And I would also think back to 2011, because that was the last time you had your Jupiter return. What did you bring in? What opportunity did you leave on the table? What would you pick up? But this is definitely a very big time for you to reset the stage. Now, this new moon is going to be happening in your 9th house. And it's going to be happening kind of close to your Uranus, a little bit off between Uranus and Mercury. So spontaneous, new ideas, new directions. How do you let go of that more local, something in your local environment is ready to end so you can really grow out into a new direction? I could think, maybe learning, expanding your horizons, even some travel, like just definitely big ideas. Now, I do think that my advice would be to sort of listen, soak in the inspiration, not jump in and act on anything, because there is a little bit of a retrograde motion happening in your 10th house. Venus is going to get ready to go backwards and review some things from this summer. Basically, there's a lot of things floating in the air. And sometimes it's good before you really act on a strategy to kind of sit with your feelings for a couple of days, especially with having a sun in Cancer and all of those beautiful planets you have in Cancer. Kind of like, if you still feel like you feel that way on Monday and you still feel that way the next Monday, then it's a solid idea to kind of run with. But you've got a ton of opportunity that's really kind of breaking you out of a lot of tensions. And I will say that a lot of the clients that I see right now, what scares me the most, or what my biggest caution is sometimes after you've been through the intensity that you've been through, you're bracing for what's next instead of anticipating the possibility. So it's more so of a mindset of stepping into anticipation of the positive instead of what could happen. I think if you do that, you're really going to find some solid magic in your life.
Yeah, and Jen is also saying that she's taking classes to be a death doula at the moment. That's cool.
I do think, I will say that I think that that's probably, that's kind of like something you don't really want to like throw out at someone if they're not really working, but just the way that your chart is set up, especially that Libra and the Saturn in the 12th and Neptune in the 12th, Scorpio rising, you are definitely going to be very good at that. You're very good at helping people transition and that convictions. Absolutely, Jan. Love it. That's a great place to be.
Awesome. And we're almost at time, so we only have time for one more question. And I just left a message for Jamie and Taylor on our private chat with the birth details of our last person, and I'll let them cast the chart in the meanwhile. And while they're doing that, I just wanted to take this time to let you guys know about next week's episode. Next week's episode is going to be with Cameron Allen and Michelle Dench. And I don't know if you know this, but right now we just released the quarterly financial outlook quarter 3, which is with Mitch Scott Lewis, and he gives a lot of predictions about what to expect in quarter 3 as far as finances go. And he also talks about planets in retrograde and all of that deal. And all of that to say is that we wanted to continue on this a financial vibe. So the theme of next week will be your finances, and really kind of taking a deep dive into your second house specifically. I also, I'm always looking at what kind of questions you guys leave in the comments and what kind of things you're curious about as I prepare for these episodes. And I notice a lot of questions about money and finances. So next week, this will be your chance to get any of those questions answered and just gain a little bit more clarity, so you can watch the quarterly financial outlook quarter 3 with a little bit more information on what that means for your chart as well. And if you want to send a question, again, it's always the same link. It's astrologyhub.com/insight. And when you send your question, I will make sure that it reaches Cameron and Michelle Dench next week, so they will be fully prepared to take a look at your chart. And you also, when you go through the form, you also have the ability to come and join us live here. So please, please, please use the form. It's the best way to get your questions answered. And it's also the most fun because you actually get to hang out with me and all of the astrologers. So yes, guys, send us your questions. With that, I think Jamie and Taylor are probably ready now. Yes?
Yep.
Sweet. So the last question came from Roseanne, and Roseanne asks, "Hi, I feel like I'm at a career crossroads. Can you shed any light on what looks like the next best step? Talking about taking July, the summer, to regroup, rethink, and reevaluate. Thank you." Taylor, would you like to get us started?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. So I see that we've got an early Virgo rising with the midheaven in Gemini and the South Node in the 10th house in Gemini as well. And so since this is a question about career, I'm always looking like, what is going on here at the top of the chart? 9th, 10th house, 11th house. Also, 4th house is about endings. And we also have Saturn in Cancer. So this new moon in Cancer is going to be activating Saturn in Cancer. The other thing that's going on right now for Roseanne is that the South Node has gone over Roseanne's Sun in Scorpio, Venus in Scorpio, Mars in Scorpio, Vulcan in Scorpio, and it's about to go over Uranus, and it's about to go over Mercury. So when we have the South Node, there's a release, there's a letting go. So there's a letting go of the identity with the Sun, old values and relationships with Venus, ways that we're taking action or, may have certain strong feelings for things or our dharma in life. With Mars, with Vulcan, it's about like our personal power and things. And the South Node is about to go over Uranus. So, sudden changes, divine inspiration. But most importantly, when that South Node hits the natal Mercury retrograde in Libra at 25 degrees 53 minutes, which is in the second house applying to the third house, what's going to happen is it's going to activate the midheaven. It's going to activate the 10th house. It's going to activate the South Node. What that means is with the combination of the new moon pretty close to natal Saturn, which is the work that we do over a lifetime. That's, takes a long time. It's hard work. It's what we become really good at because we got to work hard at it. There's sort of a reevaluation going on with our public life, our reputation, our legacy. Now, someone who natally has the South Node in the 10th house, I have a lot of clients who have this because I do focus on career and business and things. And so naturally, if you have a strong emphasis in the 10th house, it wouldn't be too surprising that you'd want to come talk to an astrologer about your career at some point in time. Well, with the South Node in the 10th house, one of the things that can happen is that they feel really vulnerable, feel really exposed, really are very attuned to the fact that other people have opinions about them. Now, other people have opinions about all of us, right? But these folks are more attuned to it and end up caring and feeling it very deeply. And so then there's a pull towards that North Node in the 4th house for privacy. And so what I would invite Roseanne to do with this new moon in Cancer, and also the Mercury retrograde that will happen towards the end of the summer, since you said July and throughout the summer, and then while the South Node is moving over Uranus and Mercury, and in about a year, it'll go over Pluto at 7 degrees of Libra, which is letting go of old power structures, is really think about how can you let go of the weight of other people's opinions and follow what makes your heart sing, follow what brings you a lot of happiness and pleasure and vitality and really makes you come alive. And if you need some privacy and some time alone to figure that out, take that time, take that privacy, move towards your North Node Neptune Vesta conjunction, which is really leaning into astrology, leaning into your own spirituality, leaning into, the messages you get, the voices you hear, things like that, especially by asking your ancestors for help, because it's in that 4th house where we find our ancestors. And don't worry about what other people think. Just do you, do what makes you happy. And if you need to think about where this is rooted in like childhood or family, like especially parents, that can be a 4th, 10th, 1st, 7th axis thing that comes up, is the stories that our parents kind of implant in us when we're younger, and then we end up carrying that through our life. So how can you let a lot of that go to be able to live your best life? I think it's a really exciting time, and I'm proud of you, and I think you'll make good decisions and do the right thing for yourself. So let us know how it goes.
Yeah.
Nice. Jamie, would you like to add anything?
Oh, I think Taylor is brilliant, but I also will add one of the first things that I want to make sure that I let you know is that every time I see someone with a Gemini midheaven, the top of the chart, especially if you do South Node there, I always want those clients to know that it's okay to be good at more than one thing. I think our society has a setup where we're thinking that we should follow this pattern and do one thing and only that one thing and master it. But you are one of the individuals that is always going to be good at multiple things, and it's okay. And you're going to be just a master at it. And another thing I will note, as a Virgo rising, you are pretty hard on yourself. You're pretty critical about what you are doing. So being like, should I do this? Should I do that? Do I need to do it to a perfect level? I think I would tell you to really pay attention to your self-talk, what you're telling yourself. If you would not let a friend talk to you that way, then you don't talk to yourself that way. Really take a really optimistic outlook and get excited about where you can go from here. Saturn made it all the way to your Jupiter, and then he stopped and he went back. So there's probably going to be something in this, and where Saturn is transiting is in trine with where this new moon is. So your actual Saturn, you're going through a Saturn trine, and it really is about making sure that you have healthy allies, healthy communications, healthy partnerships in your life. And you really are releasing a lot of local things and going out into the world in a new way with a lot of good transitions and positivity. And I agree with Taylor. I'm really proud of you because I know that you're going to make a huge change in this world, and you're multi-talented and beautiful, and it's going to be great to see what you do with it, for sure.
Awesome. Well, good luck, Roseanne. I hope that was helpful and insightful. Let us know in the comments if it resonated at all, if you're still here. And if you're not, you can totally leave a comment later. We will check them for sure. All right, guys. I think that is all for today because we don't have too much more time. But if you sent us a question and it didn't get answered, you can still talk to Jamie and Taylor on Astrologer Connect. To book a reading with either of them, you can go to astrologyhub.com/Jamie Connect to book a reading with Jamie. And for Taylor, it would be Taylor Connect to book a reading with Taylor. And also, just an aside, Roseanne just said, "Oh my God, thank you so much." So that definitely did resonate. So if you guys want to join Roseanne and the Jamie and Taylor party, book a reading with them. I've had the pleasure of having many astro conversations with Jamie, and she's looked at my chart before, and she's absolutely amazing. I have not had a reading with Taylor yet, but that is definitely coming soon.
I have. I'll back up Taylor. Taylor is amazing. She kind of sees right in there between the weeds. She's amazing. I vouch for my girl Taylor.
Oh, thanks. And likewise, right back at you both.
Thank you. Yeah, and if you'd like to take a look at all the astrologers that we have on Astrologer Connect, all you have to do is go to the same link, astrologyhub.com/connect. And you'll see me, Gemini Brett, Cameron Allen, Michelle Dench will be here next week, Nora Rochelle, Taylor, Jamie, the other Jamie Goldstein, and actually Jamie Goldstein will be taking a maternity leave very soon. So if you wanted to get a reading with her, now is your time. So, all right, guys, happy new moon for everybody. I think this will be a blast. Love Cancer season, and I'm definitely biased on that. But thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.